Good evening. It is 7 o'clock. I will call this meeting of the Richland County Board to order and ask that the clerk take the roll, please.
Harrow.
Here.
Miller. Miller.
Here.
Kramer.
Here.
McKee. McKee.
Yeah, he was there before. Are you online with us, Richard?
Yes.
Be a little bit louder.
Engel.
Here.
Hendricks.
Here.
Manning.
Here.
Gill.
Here.
Glassbrenner. Here. Harwick. Here. Woodhouse. Turk.
Here.
Cosgrove.
Here.
Frank. Severson. Williamson.
Here.
Cooey.
Here.
Fleming. Brookins.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
You have 16, sir.
Before we get to our invocation, if I could have you stand, please. We were very saddened this past week to learn of the loss of Marty Brewer, a colleague of ours here on the board, former board chair. I would ask before we have our invocation tonight, if you'd just join me in observing a moment of silence in Marty's memory. Thank you all. Pastor Leland is here to give the invocation for us tonight.
Please pray with me. Dear wise Heavenly Father, thank you on behalf for all are gathered here today, and we thank you for the gift of life you've given us. Thank you for the people gathered around this table tonight for their sacrificial service to residents of Richland County. We acknowledge the empty chair tonight. We thank you for Marty Brewer, his life, and his service to this community that he loved. Father, this board shares a vision that Richland County be a leader for resilient rural counties, a place where people love life, enjoy work, and empowered to raise thriving families. Therefore, I pray that you might grace this board to live out their core values that they've embraced, that inform this vision, embracing integrity, public service marked by competency with a focus on current and future generations, accountability and open-mindedness in their disposition and deliberations. Further, I'm asking you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and the true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even amidst honest disagreement, and finally personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them tonight. Please give an assurance of what would please you and would benefit those who live and work around our beloved Richland County. I pray this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Clerk, lead us in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we in compliance with the open meetings law?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. We have before us a 30-point agenda. We will be striking item 17 for tonight. There's some changes that need to be made to that before it gets approved, so we'll be striking item 17. With that change, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Manning, second by Cosgrove to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We've got an agenda. Thank you. Should also have minutes from our December 10th and January 7th meetings available to you. Anybody have questions, corrections on either of those sets of minutes? Hearing none, I'll declare both of those to be approved as presented. Item number 8 is public comment. Do we have any members of the public that wish to address the board tonight? Either with us here in person or joining us online? All right, hearing none, we will move on to item 9, a resolution of condolence to the family of Marty Brewer.
This will be resolution number 25-5. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that said Board of Supervisors does, as a body, hereby express its sincere sympathy regarding the death of Marty Brewer to his surviving family, and be it further resolved that the county clerk is hereby directed to send a copy of this resolution to the family of Marty Brewer.
You've heard the resolution. Do I have a motion? Motion by Kramer, second by Carroll. Certainly remember Marty for a long time to come. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Thank you. Item number 10 is an appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. A CCS Coordination Committee appointment.
Okay, so you should all have the packet handout from Health and Human Services in your packet. So I see Tricia Clemens was back there to discuss if anyone has any questions, but you can see here these are appointments for the CCS Coordinating Committee. She has it outlined fairly clearly in the attachment you all have. So unless there's any questions, we're looking for a motion to approve the appointments to the CCS Committee, Coordination Committee as presented.
Motion by Mr. Gill, second by Mr. Cooey. Any discussion on the nominees? All those in favor of the appointments, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The appointments are made. Thank you. Next up, we have election of a Committee on Committees member.
So there was a vacancy on the Committee on Committees caused by Ken Renish vacating his seat. So we waited to fill this until we had that seat filled. So Supervisor Engel filled that seat, and then to add a member of the Committee on Committees, we need to do election. Those of you that were around in April recall that we did 3 different ballots or 2. We had a recount right a couple different times because we tied. So we can disperse the ballots.
We're voting for one member.
Yeah, so it says, select one member to serve on the Committee on Committees by placing an X in the selection box next to their name. So the individuals who are currently serving on the committee are not on this list. So these are all eligible candidates, so. I'll go this side, so you go that side.
Whoa, warm over here.
Last time, there's a name on the bottom, to vote voter name. On the last ballots, we did voter name as well. So at the bottom, there's your name on there.
Please write
Do you have
your name on the
instructions?
bottom. This is not a secret ballot.
There should only be 16 ballots when we're done, Steve, so.
How many copies you got made?
Enough.
I don't think we'll get by with one.
Well, that goes to
Vote for one.
I will take letters.
We gotta put a name on
Yes.
What about the online votes? Can they send you a private chat?
Yes, they can email me. So Mary and Richard,
Yeah.
you can
Yes.
email me, or is it acceptable to do it on the chat? Or state, yeah, or state your choice. Is that?
Sorry.
Right.
Pretty much do it.
Julie needs one, I'll take one over to Julie.
I voted for you, so.
That clarifies my vote.
That one empty here?
No.
This is.
There's
stuff in the ballot box? Julie has one, or Bob has one.
Julie
We
and
have to
Bob.
fill them out.
Yeah, we got one here. Attorney Mendel, no, he's right there. Just saying.
Sorry.
So we need the two online, so. Mary
Much water
Miller,
that's gonna come out.
unless someone, Mary Miller and Robert, Richard McKee.
Now who's running?
I can list the name of candidates for you.
Please do, because I have not gotten
Okay,
my,
are you ready?
okay.
No, that doesn't bring me down.
Steve Carroll, Mary Miller, Sandy Kramer, Richard McKee, Larry Engel, Elaine Hendricks, Gary Manning, Mark Gill, Michelle Harwig, Craig Woodhouse, Chad Cosgrove, Mark Cooey, Julie Fleming, Robert Brookins, or Dan McGuire.
Now we're supposed to pick one of those people?
One, please.
One. Elaine.
Elaine,
Yeah.
okay. Richard,
What's that?
what, did you have a vote to cast for a committee on committees member?
Carol.
Steve? Okay. So it appears as though 4, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 4. You agree? Okay, so with that, Steve Carroll, you received 4 votes, which was the highest number of votes for all those cast. So are you willing to serve on committees? As needed. It's not super often, but I would say quarterly, at the most, quarterly, yes? So, there we are then. You have a new committee on committees.
Thank you all for voting, and thank you, Steve, for being willing to serve. Let's continue on to the agenda. We have item number 12, an ordinance adopting the comprehensive plan 2024 through 2034 for Richland County, Wisconsin.
Good evening. I'm joining you virtually this evening. My name is Dan Hauk, Assistant Planner at Southwestern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, and I won't take up too much of your time this evening. You've got a loaded agenda, but I just wanted to reiterate that the action you have in front of you tonight is the ordinance to formally adopt the county comprehensive plan for the next 10 years as was recommended by the executive committee last week. This is the product of a lot of hard work between the county and local leaders within the county and our staff. Just want to express our gratitude in working with you all for the last, I guess, 6 months or so. This plan satisfies the state statutes as well as creates a more narrow focused plan for the county and goals that the county should achieve over the next 10 years. And so the executive committee will act as the plan commission over the next 10 years and ensure implementation of this plan. And we will be checking in semi-annually with the committee on such goals. So happy to answer any questions with the plan. Yep, as in your packet was recommended for adoption last week.
Do you have the copy of the plan in our packet as well as the resolution? Can I get a motion on the resolution before we have discussion here? Motion by Glassbrenner, second by Cooley. Any questions, comments on the comprehensive plan that is before us now? We did have a few questions that came up at Executive and Finance that Dan was able to address with us, so we appreciate that. Anybody else have a question before we vote here? Mr. Carroll?
I just want to emphasize that we had a comprehensive plan that I don't think or Dan would have read. Put on the shelf, it existed, but it wasn't really driving or being useful when we came up on planning issues. So I'm just urging that as we now have a committee that's supposed to own that document, that we plan to have those meetings on the calendar each year so that we don't just ignore it.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the ordinance adopting the plan, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Item 13, ordinance relating to a parcel belonging to Royce Dieter in the town of Dayton.
This would be ordinance number 25-2. It's an amendment number 615 to the Richland County zoning ordinance relating to Royce Dieter in the town of Dayton. The Richland County Board of Supervisors just hereby ordains as follows: the county board, having considered the following factors, hereby finds the following rezoning is in the best interest of the city of Richland County. Do you wish me to read it in its entirety, sir?
No.
Okay, that the following described 27.66 acre parcel belonging to Royce Dieter in the town of Dayton is hereby rezoned from agricultural forestry AF to agricultural residential AR district. This ordinance shall be effective on passage and publication. This ordinance is authored by the National Resources Standing Committee on 6 January of 2025.
You've heard the ordinance. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Manning, second by Mr. Gill. Discussion. Go ahead, Steve.
This came from our committee, and this is another one of the rezones where we're just getting them up to date on the more correct zoning classification as someone comes in to get a building permit or for whatever reason it gets on our agenda, we at that time get it updated and corrected.
Any questions on this? As all those in favor of the rezoning ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Item 14, a report on petitions for zoning amendments received since the last county board session. Do we have any?
We have a new zoning administrator, which I have not even met yet, but I have not talked to them, so I don't know about that part of the agenda.
So would that be a safe assumption for the next item as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, well, we will await our next board session to see what actions we have forthcoming. That will bring us down to 16, which is reports, starting with our interim county administrator.
Hi, everyone. My name's Derek, in case you don't know me.
We also have our interim deputy here as well.
Yes.
I'm Josh.
Okay, so it's been a busy couple weeks. I suppose that goes without saying, but nonetheless, I have quite a few things prepared to share with you. I will make this painless as possible, but nonetheless, here's my update. So first and foremost, the Lou Everett group training is this Thursday, the 23rd. So I sent an email out to all of you requesting you to reply if you were going to attend that training. It will be here in the county boardroom from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lunch will be provided from 12 to 1. Josh and Tammy Newberry will be organizing lunch. I think it's pizza. Correct. Okay, so pizza, yeah, everyone loves pizza. So that'll be, there's 2 sessions, one that goes from 10 to noon, the break, and then from 1 to 3. So this is part of the 4 section training of this. This one will be in person, the other remaining ones will be virtual. There is quite an agenda. This first one is focusing on the We Are One philosophy, and there's various team building activities. I won't go through them all, but nonetheless, I think this will be very beneficial for county board supervisors and department heads. So it's those 2 groups coming together to collectively form a mission statement, and then just to, collaboration and working together as one. So again, this will be this Thursday. If you haven't responded and plan to attend, please let us know. Otherwise, Dave Turk will be leading that, so Chair Turk will be here to facilitate that process. But the trainers are en route as far as I know, or pretty close to that. So does anyone have any questions about this? Material? Yes?
Will it be recorded?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
So it's live and
First
interactive,
one.
so.
Yep.
Now, Derek,
Yes?
what about somebody like me out here? What do I have to do?
Well, it's this one is in person, and actually this was a request from the committee to have some of them in person instead of them all being virtual. So the next 3 would be virtual, Mary. This one is in person, so I don't believe there's been accommodation set up for virtual attendance for this one anyway.
Okay, thank you.
My apologies.
No, it's okay.
Thank you. Any other questions about that?
They're traveling up here from the Carolinas where they're forecast to have more snow than what we have.
Okay, so next thing, the recruitment for the county administrator is underway. So again, PAA, Public Administration Associates, is leading that recruitment. They're the recruiting firm we used for the last year. So this process was conducted about 1.5 years ago, so not too long ago. The timeline was discussed at the last executive and finance meeting on the 14th. So as of where we are with that right now, as we're placed January 15th and 16th, there was a social media post that I believe, was that shared with you guys?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I was like, I've done a lot, so I couldn't remember if I sent it yet, but, yeah, and that's a link to access what they're putting out there on the various locations for the position itself. So those ads are out, they are placed, and recruitment closes February 17th. So the schedule for this, again, I'm happy to provide this to you, but if you look online at the executive and finance meeting, the schedule is posted and it's quite clear. So we will, well not we, PAA will be collecting those applications until February 17th is when the recruitment officially closes. Further instruction regarding board involvement in that kind of process will come when we get closer to the 17th date, but that's what I have for now. Any questions about that? No? Okay. Let's see. Search for the finance director is still underway as well, so Derek and Tammy Newberry are filling in those gaps to the best of our ability. And there hasn't been a ton of activity for that. I know there's been some questions, but this position, as well as the county administrator, are positions that we are not the only ones having difficulties in filling those. So those are tough positions to fill, and hopefully at some point soon, before we get into the depths of budget season, we will have someone in place. That being said, the minute that you get someone in place doesn't mean that they come installed with all this knowledge. You have to install that knowledge in them. So even if someone sits in the chair, realistically, it's a good year before they understand what's fully the process of the way things are done here at the county. So any questions about that from me?
I have a question.
Yes.
If you have, if they apply for this, do they have to have a certain criteria, or just a college degree in finance, or is the county board town assistant, or the administrator, is that focused on one course, or year's courses, or could it be somebody that knows finance?
Sure, yes.
It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a degree in administration or anything.
There's a 4-year degree, I don't believe it.
I have the
Thank
qualification
you.
pulled
I
up,
don't
just
have it in front of me.
requires a bachelor's degree in public or business administration or finance or a related field with a master's degree preferred. A combination of education or experience may be substituted for the specific degree major. Significant experience in the administration of a complex organization with a minimum of 2 years in upper level management required. ICMA credentialed management manager certification is a plus. As is a thorough knowledge of local government, private sector, and military candidates who have led comparably sized complex organizations are encouraged to apply.
And so that was for the county administrator, Mary. Were you talking about the finance director?
No, I was
Okay.
talking about the county administrator. And the finance person could be a finance degree, and that would be it then.
Right, like Larry had a CPA. We were very lucky and fortunate to have a candidate that was a CPA. Doesn't always mean that's going to happen. I think we got lucky on that one, but I mean, it can happen. Doesn't happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, wage study update. So in your packet, I believe it's 16A or B, I did send you an update regarding the wage study and kind of where we're at with that. So we had a department head meeting on the 16th, so last Thursday. At that point, I realized that there were some things that we still had to finish up yet. Nothing major, but there was just some information that perhaps didn't find its way to people. So to make sure that everyone received all the information they needed, Justin had sent every department head all of their job descriptions as we had them at this point to review them one more time to make sure that every job description had been reviewed, and then to send them back with any appeals to kind of carry on with that appeal process. So we're in the final stages of that. As you all know, you approved the wage scale back in December, so it's already been implemented, but this is just cleaning up those job descriptions, so this way we can wrap everything up and work on some of the FSLA designations and those sorts of things that we have to do. So it is likely that we'll have some consultation with perhaps a labor attorney to examine some of those FSLA exemptions to make sure that, or our own court counsel, to make sure that we're classifying the positions correctly. Tammy Hendrickson is working on what I just generically call our wage scale, which is all the positions listed on a big ginormous Excel spreadsheet that we use to really administer steps and those sorts of things. Once that's all together, once all job descriptions have been formalized, cleaned up, and everyone's had a chance to review them, because I want to make sure that every department head has had a chance to review them and has one more time to appeal those job descriptions. Again, this is an investment in a long-term project, so I want to make sure everyone had the opportunity to do what they needed to do to ensure that when we start the maintenance portion of this, that we're on track with maintaining the wage scale. So those of you that were around before know that the last time the wage scale was implemented, it was implemented, but it wasn't as smooth as this one. So the point in this wage scale is that once it's implemented, we will protect it at all costs, and that we will maintain the consistency of the scale. So the document you have there with you talks about how we're going to do that. So I know Supervisor Cooey was wondering, well, how do we maintain the scale, right? Like, what do we do after it's adopted? And it's really, there's no real magic to this. The market's really going to do a lot of the work for us. We just have to keep up with the market. We also need to commit to the annual maintenance and follow the scale that was approved. So again, last time this was done, there were lots of exceptions that were made. There were lots of changes, just lots of things that really eroded the consistency of the scale, and we didn't keep it up. So really, going forward, we make no exceptions. We have a consistent practice. For example, all new hires are starting at step 1, and then we make an honest attempt and commit to advance everyone 1 step a year with a COLA increase or a combination of those things, right? Because remember, the scale that was adopted is the current market rate for those positions right now. So if we veer from keeping up with that, we're just going to fall far behind like we did last time, and then in years down the road, realize our scales are out of whack, decompression and compression and all these things happen, right? So we want to avoid that at all costs. New positions will be created during the budget cycle only. I said period, end of story in my notes, not to be hard-nosed about that, but really once all these loose ends are wrapped up, a policy will be formed, and then this is going to lead into the maintenance of it. So for those of you wondering, if you look at that attachment on page 2, it gives you a nice ongoing maintenance timeline of how that's going to work. So I will spare you me reading through all that, but this will be reviewed. So long story short, on an annual basis, the wage scale itself will be reviewed in its entirety, right? We will review that to make sure that that scale is consistent with current market trends. DDA is helping us with this. They will walk us through that process and review that and examine that with us as our professionals in that field. And then a third of the job descriptions will be pulled and reviewed, again, to make sure that we're staying current on job descriptions, that they are reflective of the work employees are performing, because the job descriptions we had, many of them were quite outdated. Some of them were on formats from like the 80s typed up that were just not updated. So we want to stay away from that, right? We've all gone through the work to update these job descriptions. We need to maintain them as so. Every department head, every employee has had the opportunity to start those basically from ground up, to have their department heads review them, and then to send them back a few times for appeals, again, to make sure that we're set up to have the implementation of this scale as seamless as possible. So the maintenance will start in, like I said, in the first quarter, quarter 1 of 2024, we review the scale, we review job descriptions, and then we adjust accordingly. Those adjustments will provide us with a number for budgeting purposes that will allow us to determine, how we implement the pay scale. Are we going to give one step? Are we going to do a step in a COLA, or what have you? DDA will help with that, the professionals will help with that, and the market will really dictate how we follow that wage scale. That was a long answer, but are there any questions? Okay. There will be more updates when we get to a final product. I'm sure I'll let you all know, but that's where that is. Radio tower project. And you'll notice these are the 4 big projects I told you I'd work on. Josh can help me with this, interim county administrator, but overview, we did meet with Mike Day and the crew on 117 for a project overview. The lease agreement for Boaz was received today. There's another one we're waiting on for the city of Richland Center. We'll get to that in a second. But estimated project completion percentage is around 65 to 70%, somewhere around there. Estimated completion date, August 2025, somewhere around there. That's not carved in stone. Don't spread that all over the land. And then the budget is on track with a fair amount of contingent funds remaining. I think it was around 700,000. So I'll let Josh, interim administrator, give a little more.
With that, we kind of went back to the basics, because Derek and I were kind of new coming into this operation, so we decided to bring everybody in, reel them in, and then figure out where we're at and where we needed to go from here. Boaz and the Richland Center tower site were the 2 things in question, so boots back on the ground, made some aggressive phone calls to get everybody back on track and get things moving again. We were successful there. We determined that we're between 65 and 70% of the completion of the overall project, with a chance that we could be seeing some things wrap up by May, and then August would be about the time things are going to be completed, but they also have to do a final check on the radio system once it's up and running, but that really depends on the foliage of the county at the time, because they wait for everything to be grown into the full max to see how the radio signals are going to carry. So that's what we can share with you right now on that project.
And then just to note, the Attorney Riddle, do you mind just giving a review of the contract we received today, so we can discuss that?
Sure. So there are 2 contracts still at large under review. There's the Boaz one that does include a licensing fee. I've reviewed the terms of the contract several times, because again, this has taken over a year to get these contracts in final form. The terms and conditions are fair, reasonable. Then there is one for the city of Richland Center. The difference between the 2, the Boaz site, we are paying for, they call it a licensing fee. The Richland Center site, they just came back and it is what they call a $0 agreement, which I had never heard before. What it means is they're not charging us anything to put the equipment on the Richland Center. I will acknowledge, I think that a big part of that was the city's willingness to throw their support behind the county's efforts in this. I was given authorization to more or less say, the city and the county speaking with one voice on this. And basically, if you try and screw the county, the city's going to turn right back around. And when you try to renegotiate your lease with us, it's not gonna go well. So, the point of that is that I'd say we made more progress on these contracts in the last 3 weeks than the last 3 months. And I think the terms of the Richland County, or the Richland Center contract are very similar, but again, without any licensing fee. So they came back at a zero cost to us, which is, do you want me to get into the procurement?
So I just wanted to mention this today because this contract, we literally just received it a few hours ago. So unless anyone has any hesitation, to read the contract, it is one of the tower contracts. So I just wanted it to be known that I will be signing that to continue these efforts of moving this project along, unless there's anyone who's opposed to that. But that is something that, again, we need to do to move this along. So I just wanted that to be said to you all, so you know, because we just received it and I didn't have a ton of time to truck with it. Anything else I need to say, sir? Oh, yes.
I just wondered where we are with the community expenditure deadline.
That is a document that we did, well, what was the budget? I forget the budget number that he gave us when we spoke on 17. I don't know, I don't have an exact number for you. The budget was okay though, there was no concerns with being over, and again, there was quite a contingency fund left. So we will be asking though, because I knew this was going to come up, we will be getting more regular updates on the budget and in such a manner that is much more condensed and gives you a large overview instead of the Excel sheets that you're probably used to looking at to try to decipher what it is. So we will be working on having more of those, Steve, going forward.
We also have a deadline we have to spend the money by. I was wondering about that.
We did. That deadline was actually December 15th of 2024. This is why there's a push to do this.
Okay. And what was the consequence of missing that deadline?
Is that we would pay arbitrage. So the interest income that we're earning will have to be paid back. So it's not taking it away from the project, it's just giving money back, the interest earned back that we should have earned anyway, because the fund should have been spent by December 15th.
So the money we borrowed is sitting in a fund earning interest, and we have to hand that interest over
That's
to,
right.
who we hand it to,
Back to PMA, the investment folks
Yeah.
will handle that for us, yes.
because we didn't spend it fast enough.
Because we committed, the deadline was December 15th to have the last bill paid, but then things outside of our control came up, and obviously we didn't know that when the borrowing was completed, otherwise it would have been a different kind of borrowing, but that's just where we were at that point in time, so. But there will be more details coming for that, right? So, we just haven't got there yet, Judge. Anything else about the radio project?
I don't think so. I think the biggest thing is like the last of these countries can't be spoken for until after that last test is done.
Okay, Tyler implementation is underway. The GL and the AP part of it should go live in Q1 of 2025.
GL would be general ledger, AP is
Accounts payable.
accounts.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, those two are well underway. The payroll piece is next in line, so we have a meeting on 1/29. I will not be present for that, but that will be the configuration for the payroll piece of this. That's gonna be fun. That'll be a lot of work. There are many training modules that need to be completed. Barb and I were attempting to look at those today actually, but there were some access issues that we couldn't get to. So I will reconvene with Barb upon return from Italy and go over training. There will be a committee on committees meeting and campus reconfiguration meeting sometime very soon here, the first or second week in February. The notice will go like normal. Other things going on, there's a spring primary and there is an April election, so in between wearing interim administrator hat, I've still been doing the clerk stuff. Year-end 1099s, W-2s, and 1095 forms are being processed. 1099s are submitted, 1095s are printed, W-2s should hopefully be done here before too long. The 2025 budget was rolled, deficiency appropriations are in phase 1, and then there's been some switcheroo in the office up here, so Tammy Hendrickson and Michelle Brown have now moved over to where Larry and Tammy were for HR purposes, and then Tammy Newberry moved back over by us, and that was really just to facilitate people being next to each other with light duties, and also with this implementation coming on as well. And I didn't want one staff member in the office by themselves, so I like more than one there. I have much more to say, but I think I've spoken enough to you tonight, so. Questions for me about anything?
I would like to ask if, when you're new, you can put your foot in your mouth, so you get away with it. But What you just said,
Yes,
there's an election coming up
there is.
for the county clerk.
No, not for conflict, just,
So there's two major administrative positions that are unfilled, that are now being filled by two full-time employees. Right, so that's 4 positions. And when we talked with Candace last time, it was clear that she didn't have the staff support that she needed in order to effectively do her job. So my question for you is, to help you to be successful, is there or should there be a discretionary fund where you could hire somebody to come in and do special projects? Like a Jack or John or yeah, who you could say, hey, I need policies on human resources. You know the system well, come and do it. Or John, we're thinking about a new jail or a new building. Can you come and put bird dog that project for us, or the campus or something? Because I guess what I see without something like that, and you may already have it, but without something like that, it's easy to get overwhelmed.
yeah, I think extra resources are always useful. I think we're just treading water for a little bit, so I would like to entertain that perhaps next month when things calm down a little bit and we can really take the time to determine those resources, Larry, but they're most definitely could be helpful, yes.
Well, can we think about it a little bit tonight, like brainstorm about it a little bit? Because it seems to me that we're saving money on 2 major staff positions. You could at least talk about the ballpark figure.
Yeah, I think immediately what comes to mind is something we were just actually discussing earlier, is the finance policy, which we did the procurement policy, yes, but there's a financial policy piece to that. There's also an HR policy, I think, and the reason that I kind of pause on that now is because I would actually like to get the buy-in from the department heads to sit down and what I want to ask them and the discussion I would like to have with them is, hey, what resources do you guys feel like you need? What things are you missing to effectively do your job? Because I'd like to pool, because my guess is that what they say is very similar to probably what I'm going to say as a department head. And so I'd like to see what the other departments are, what they need for resources too, so we could collectively look at that together and say, okay, this is the best way to utilize resources that's gonna have the greatest impact. So I would like to do that, that's next steps for me.
So I understand that, and it makes sense. But that raises a question. You currently do not have a discretionary fund where you could do that.
There's not a set-aside discretionary fund, no. I mean, there's a contingency fund that I suppose could be used for manners like that. I hesitate to use that because that fund's really only used for emergencies and should be that, but there are little pockets of money that could potentially be utilized, yes.
There are potentially some unspent salary
That's
funds in the 2025
That's
budget that we could look at
Well, I
utilizing.
just think that should be on the agenda. Take a look at that.
It's on my
It
agenda.
gives you time.
We have discussed it at finance executives already about contracting, contracting finance help if we need it.
And that's what I'm doing now with,
I don't think there's an if.
no, there's a need for sure.
Well,
There's a need
yeah,
for sure.
but you just don't want, we don't know what we exactly need yet. That's what Derek is trying to figure out, what we need.
Right,
before we
we've
just
only
go
been
hire
into
them.
this about a week and a half, we're discussing,
Well, I
we're
understand.
discovering new stuff every day, so I think the best thing to do is like what we're doing is we're starting to assess what we're actually lacking, and then we're gonna prioritize what it needs to be addressed first and how we'll go about doing that. If there's a dollar amount attached to that, then we'll address that as we get to it.
And that was the follow-up that I planned on talking about in February. It was, okay, so I've been meeting with department heads, these are the needs they're saying, this is what we need to do, and move forward from there, Larry. So it is definitely on my mind.
I just want to make sure you do the tools you need.
I appreciate that, thank you for the concern. I very much appreciate it, and we will likely ask for that help at some point, because there are subject matter experts that can really do this work much quicker than we can, that have the knowledge for us that really rely on that instead of stealing policies from different counties and changing the name and saying, hey, this is our policy. We can't do that anymore. We've done that before and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I want to get away from that, and I think those are the two things I would like to focus on, is the finance policy and the HR policy, because those two things pretty much is how all of our circles have been interacting in the last couple, well, for me, for a long time, but more importantly, the last week. And so that is my opinion where we start. But I, again, want to get other collaboration from department heads to get the most out of our decision. We duly noted that. Appreciate it.
Other questions for Derek or Josh?
I
I guess my question would be, following up what Larry suggested, is there something that we can do to take some of the load off you? And you guys have obviously way more than what you can deal with.
Short of giving us grace and knowing that my email for the next week is going to be blown up and that you likely will not get a response from me for a little while because I will be unable to access email in full disclosure. That makes me scared, but I will stay tonight and make sure it's as clean as it can be before I leave. So just give us grace, give us time, and know that we're in this intense sort of environment for a little while, and just patience is good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
That's it for me, thank you.
So, back on our agenda, we are at the most exciting part of the agenda tonight, the financial and audit presentation by Johnson and Block. Bill, are you online with us?
I am. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Thank you, Bill. Go ahead.
Okay. Say, I have the presentation here I can share. If it's going to be easier, I can point.
Well, we've got it up on our screen here, Bill.
Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Bill Moyleen. I'm from Johnson Block and Company. And I'm here tonight to attempt to briefly present the financial state audit for the year ended December 31st, 2023. A 2023 audit overview. We completed the audit of Richland County for the year ended December 31st, 2023, and we issued an unmodified opinion. That's the desired opinion that states we believe the financial statements are free from material misstatement. Our report and the audited statements were presented to the county in a bound document as well as in a PDF. The scope of our audit includes all funds and activities of the county, so both government funds and proprietary and internal service. An exit conference was held separately with Pine Valley Community Village trustees, so I'll kind of glass over some of those numbers from this financial statement while we go here tonight. A separate audit communications document was also submitted specifically for county board that should be read in conjunction with the financial statements. That audit communications document is space for the auditors to communicate directly to county board. We also prepared regulatory reports for the county, the Form A with the Department of Revenue. And Pine Valley also has separate financial statements issued as well, which include some more detailed disclosures that aren't included in the countywide financial statement report. Page 3, some 2023 financial highlights. The county's 2023 governmental funds incurred a fund balance increase of $9.8 million during 2023. The lion's share of that increase is related to unspent bond proceeds in the capital projects fund, which we'll get to. The general fund, which is a primary operating fund of the county, increased its fund balance by $1.5 million. The general fund's total fund balance was $9,863,000 as of December 31st, which is about 6 months of expenditures. Tax certificates, which is one of the larger receivable balances that the county has on its books, totaled $579,000 at December 31st, compared to $479,000 in the prior year. Countywide sales tax was $1.6 million in 2023 compared to about $1.5 million in the prior year. And to date, I believe the county for 2024 sales tax has received 10 months of sales tax revenue, and we're tracking to be right around that 1.6 million again, or maybe slightly more, 1.7 for the calendar year 2024. The county is in compliance with state-imposed property tax limits. During 2023, long-term debt of $8.1 million was issued related to radio and tower project and some equipment acquisition and facility maintenance improvements. Pine Valley Community Village had operating revenues of $10.3 million. Operating expenses were greater than operating revenues, so that an operating loss of $968,000 was reported. That loss was offset by property tax levy of $1.1 million and $100,000 of supplemental payments from the federal government. Page 4, the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance for governmental funds. The county reports 4 major funds: the general fund, the American Rescue Plan Fund, and the Capital Projects Fund. All the rest of the government funds are reported in aggregate and shown as non-major. Total revenues in 2023 were $22.6 million compared to $22.6 million in the prior year. Total expense was $21.4 million compared to $22.2 million in the prior year. Other financing sources and uses represents transfers between funds, proceeds of long-term debt, and premium. So there was an $8.1 million capital project borrowing issued, which increased capital projects fund balance. Total government fund balance was $8.6 million to start the year. That increased by $9.8 million to $18.4 million at the end of the year. Next page. A budgetary comparison schedule for the general fund. The county budgeted $20.3 million in revenue, and actual revenue was $20.1 million. So that was an unfavorable difference of $157,000. Total expense budgeted was $20.3 million. Actual expense was $19.1 million. So that's a $1.2 million favorable difference. We had transfers to and from other funds, which were comparable to budget. So the general fund started the year with $8.3 million in fund balance, and that increased $1.5 million to just under $9.9 million, at $9,863,000. For the next page, government fund balance. The county reports 4 types of fund balance on its financial statements: non-spendable, restricted, assigned, and unassigned. And those range from most restricted at the top to least restricted at the bottom. Total non-spendable fund balance was comparable to last year at $685,000. That represents amounts that are not expected to be quickly converted to cash or were already spent. Restricted fund balance had a significant increase related to the Capital Projects Fund, unspent bond proceeds. Total restricted fund balance is $8.6 million, and last year was $399,000. Assigned fund balances comparable to last year at $33,000, and unassigned fund balance increased for the general fund, $9,114,000, which increased from prior year at $7.5 million. Page 7. A visual representation of what makes up the revenues for Richland County. 34% of the county's revenue comes from intergovernmental grants, federal and state awards. 38% of the revenue comes from taxes, $8.8 million. Public charges for services makes up 18%. Miscellaneous income increased compared to prior years, mostly related to interest income earnings. 8% total revenues, and 2% was licenses and permits, penalties, and forfeitures. Property taxes, which makes up 38% of our revenues. Most of those revenues are collected in January and February, and then in July. For our intergovernmental grants, shared taxes is the largest that we receive. That's primarily, most of that money comes in November, about 90% of it, of the $1.1 million. Health and Human Services makes up the other one that's most significant. There's many grants that are payable based on contract expenditures. Page 8. A history of the county's property taxes. Property taxes increased slightly between 22 and 23. The 2022 property tax levy, which was collected in 2023, was $10,453,000. The levy in 23 for 2024 collection was $10,486,000. That increase that you see between 2019 and 2020 is related to principal and interest payments that were required on long-term debt that the county was levying for. Taxes receivable balances over the 7 years that are presented have decreased over time. Our collections have improved. Between 2022 and 2023, we saw a slight increase in the receivable balance from $479,000 up to $579,000. The trend in equalized value of property over the, let's see how many years is that, 8-year period shown. The county has increased its overall valuation by about 62%. And we've seen similar increases in the counties surrounding Richland County. Vernon, Monroe, Crawford, Iowa, and Grant all ranged between about upper 50s to lower 60s for trend in equalized value of property. Trend in sales tax revenue. We increased from 2022 to 2023, 1.5 million up to 1.6 million. And we're looking like it's trending upward again for the 2024 year, planning on final estimate around that 1.6 to 1.7 million for sales tax revenue collections in 2024. Again, our visual representation of the 2023 expenditures for the county. 44% of our expenditures are human services related. Public safety makes up 23%. General government makes up 13%. And then the rest are all around 5 to 6% each. Culture and recreation, conservation and development, debt service, capital outlay, and transportation costs. Okay. 13. There are two proprietary funds reported in the county's financial statements. An enterprise fund, the Pine Valley Community Village, and an internal service fund, the Highway Department. Operating loss for Pine Valley was $968,000. That's offset by non-operating revenues and expenses of $977,000 net revenues. So the change in that position for Pine Valley was an increase of $8,000. Net position fund balance was at break even, 3.7 million to just over 3.8 million. For the internal service fund, the Highway Department, the operating loss was 3.8 million. That's offset by general property taxes of 2.3 million. So we had a change in that position, a decrease of 1.5 million, which represents amounts that we invested in highway maintenance, county road maintenance during 2023. Page 14 is a summary of changes in long-term debt obligations for the county. The government portion of the long-term debt is on the top half, and the business type activities, which is Highway Pine Valley, is on the bottom half. The county had 4.8 million outstanding in long-term debt. It issued 8.1 million in GO bonds. It made scheduled payments of 885,000, which left just over 12 million outstanding at the end of the year. There's some leases and compensated absences, which are other long-term liabilities. For business type activities, no new long-term debt was issued. We had 17 million outstanding at the beginning of the year. We made scheduled payments of 990,000, and that left 16 million outstanding at the end of the year. And with government debt, there's a debt limit that the county is subject to follow. The maximum debt is a calculation based on equalized value within the county. So the debt limit for Richland County is 90 million, and debt subject to that limit is 28 million. So the county has about just under 70%, at 69% of its debt capacity remaining for future borrowings if the need arises. And that concludes the presentation. Are there any questions?
Mr. Frank.
Chair,
Go ahead, Rich.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Richard.
I've got a question. Maybe I just never noticed it before. This audit is over a year old.
Yep.
We're talking 2023, and we're already over into 2025.
Yep. Mr. Moline, that's typically how the cycle goes, isn't it?
Well, there was, typically, the financial statements were issued in September, which is normal timing for the county financial audit. But I think I just never got on the agenda, I guess, to present financial statements with the previous administrator. I don't know, just lost in communication. So that's the cause for the delay in the financial statement presentation. But normally we would hope to issue financial statements between August and September for the previous calendar year. So that timing is normal, but the financial statement presentation here is definitely at least 2 or 3 months later than I would have liked.
Typically, we'd have you in November to do that, so.
Yeah.
Okay. That answer your question, Richard?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Frank, go ahead.
So I don't see anything here on the wheel tax for the county. Is that something that's into the budget, or is that not in 23?
I can speak to that. Wheel tax is always into the county's budget, and the highway's budget. It's identified for seal coating every year. It justifies about 15 miles worth of seal coating.
So where is it? Is it identified somewhere in their review of the budget?
Not in the review of the budget. It wouldn't be identified in there. It's identified in highway's budget.
Just directly in the highway budget? Okay, so it would be in the highway budget numbers in here? Okay, that's what I didn't know. Thank you.
Mr. Kara.
Is there a hard copy available, the full audit with all the notes and the, okay,
Yes.
typically we would get a copy.
Yeah, I have the, like he said, I found ones, I can send you the full one. This is the typical presentation that I've seen Bill do a few times now, but if you'd like the full one, absolutely, I can, would you like the email to you, Steve?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Other questions? Any other questions while we have Bill here? We need to take action on this. Okay. No action is needed on this. If there are no more questions, Bill, thank you for your time. We'll try to hear from you again yet before this calendar year is out.
You'll see me in a few months, Derek.
Thank you.
Enjoy Italy. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Any comment on that?
Yes, go ahead.
So it usually is November. There was a timing issue where one meeting couldn't be made, and it will be in November how it normally is this year. So rest assured, yeah, it will. We'll make sure.
Okay. Very good. So item 17 we dropped. Item 18, a resolution approving provider contracts for 2025 for the Health and Human Services Department.
This would be resolution number 25-7. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Community and Health Services Standing Committee to enter into the listed provider contracts for 2025. Be it further resolved that the Director of Health and Human Services, Ms. Tricia Clements, is hereby authorized to sign the above contracts on behalf of Richland County in accordance with this resolution. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution is offered by the county board members of the Community and Health Services Standing Committee on 9 January of 2025.
Do I have a motion on this resolution? Motion by Mr. Cooey, second by Mr. Frank, and Director Clements is here.
Good evening. So we have 4 contracts. 3 out of our 4 are for our CCS program, which is our Comprehensive Community Services. It's a mental health program. The one is correct, it is $1.5 million, but they do not only services for families and individuals, but they also do some of our service facilitation. And the reason we do that is so that we can try to avoid having a wait list. Through CCS, that is a program that the funds are 100% reimbursable. And so there is no county levy in there. Our other contract is with Haley Schneider, and she's our psychiatric nurse practitioner. And she is funded through our mental health block grant, our base county allocation, and through CCS, and then through billing of insurance. Any questions?
Questions? Comments? No. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the resolution is adopted. Item 19, a resolution awarding opioid settlement fund grants to applicant providing for the prevention, treatment, and/or recovery of opioid drug use.
This will be resolution number 25-8. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the Richland County Department of Health and Human Services is authorized to award opioid settlement fund grants to the following: Richland County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $6,000 for preventative efforts, treatment and recovery efforts to establish a DARE program. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution is offered by the county board members of the Community and Health Services Standing Committee on 9 January 2025.
With that resolution, motion by Mr. Manning, second by Supervisor Glassbrenner. Any discussion on this?
I can just say a little
Yes,
word here
you would,
quick
please.
to explain it for those of you wondering. I'm Lieutenant Sizz with the Sheriff's Office. I appreciate your guys' time. You may be wondering why we're requesting funds for a DARE program. So we currently teach prevention at Ithaca schools. It's the only school that we have in the county that we're teaching at. And they luckily let us know a year or 2 ago that Counteract was ending. That was the program that we were teaching. We were able to purchase enough of the materials to continue to teach last year and this year. And in the meantime, we've been doing research on which program we want to bring to the children. We landed on DARE, I think mainly because it's worldwide known. And one of the bigger things about it is it keeps up currently. So they've kind of revamped DARE. I'm sure a lot of you know what it was. Maybe some of you were taught that when you were in elementary school. I myself was. They've done a lot with their program after some studies, finding out that it was a little bit past dated. So they've really revamped it and made it more approachable to kids nowadays. They also factor in vaping, which is an issue that's newer that we can teach the kids about. They also have sections on gun control, which I actually taught to Ithaca. We were requested by them before gun season to kind of bring that to the kids. And we use the DARE program to do that. They've got great interactive videos. They've got handouts. They've got just about anything that you could want. A little bit of the breakdown of the money. So the class is, it's a 2-week course that we would have to send someone to, that being most likely myself, $1,250. The other money for that would be the stay and the lodging for 10 nights at $1,000. The food for 10 days at the $25 rate for the county would be $250. Work booklets need to be purchased, obviously for the classes, $1.65 per booklet. So we did that for a couple years worth of booklets at $165. Name cards, posters, certificates, you can really go down a rabbit hole. Buying some of the equipment, that's just kind of a number that we can get a lot of stuff. When the kids graduate, we'll give them a t-shirt, maybe something like a pencil or a badge or something to show that they successfully completed the course. And then the last thing would be the compensation for an officer to be sent away for 2 weeks, paying their hourly wage to be there, which is $29.35. I will say I reached out to Ithaca Schools and just asked what their budget was for the Counteract program. They don't have a budget for it. I talked to Kathleen Shane, who's the principal at the elementary school. She said that they just kind of find the funds when they need them. As many of you know, Ithaca just went to referendum. They're going to be tight on money coming up. We at the Sheriff's Office feel that it's very important, not only as a community policing aspect to get into the schools, but also as a prevention aspect, which is a big part of this grant. With it being an opioid grant, we are teaching kids about the dangers of drugs, specifically opioids. So we're requesting this money to send someone to be trained and to start that program at Ithaca schools. So thank you for your consideration.
And you had mentioned at the committee that you're doing it at Ithaca because Richland Center is covered by Richland Center Police Department,
Yep,
correct?
the Richland Center Police Department has historically covered Richland Center. They also lost Counteract. They developed their own program. They've got an acronym, I think it's called PEAT. We looked into that. The big draw for DARE was just the backing of it. You know, all the studies that have been done on it. It's very well known throughout the communities, and it's just the extra training is something that we wanted, so.
Mr. Carroll, you had a question?
So after the training, is this something that then you're trained for years going forward?
Yes.
In other words,
Yep, after the initial 2-week training, you're DARE certified. They do have conferences and updates and things that you can attend as far as trainings and stuff like that to keep you updated, but you can also find that stuff online for free. So it would be the initial cost of the training. The only ongoing cost would be materials, which would be workbooks, and I think we could find that in our budget to continue to purchase that or work with Ithaca School to work on a balance there.
Thank you. Other questions? Ms. Hendricks?
Where's this training at? Did I miss that?
No, so the training is held somewhere in Wisconsin. It's only held one time a year. So the budget for this, for us to implement this would be early 2026. So we're still gonna teach Counteract this year, which I start on Friday. And then our plan would be to go to this training next January. They only host it in Wisconsin once a year. So it'd be go to next January and then implement it early 2026.
Anybody else have a question? There are no other questions. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The resolution is adopted. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, I missed the motion.
So, we move on to item number 20 on our agenda, resolution approving 2 new job descriptions for Health and Human Services.
This will be resolution number 25-9. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the job descriptions for an economic support supervisor and a recovery services coordinator be approved. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage. This resolution was offered by the county board members of the Community Health Services Standing Committee on 9 January 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Motion by Glassbrenner, second by Cooey. And Director Clemens.
So last year in July and August, we brought these 2 positions to our Community and Health Services as we were in preparation of the budget. And we explained to them why we wanted these positions and why we needed them. First, with the economic support supervisor. There are 12 workers in that unit, along with a lead worker and the manager. The lead worker does a lot of work with the consortium. Over half their time is work with the consortium. It's an 8-county consortium that provides benefits to the residents of those 8 counties. And so we look to build in a supervisor position to support the manager. So the manager can do a lot more of the policies, of the billing systems. A lot of those workers, half those workers are remote, and their time, really every minute of their workday is tracked. And so one of the requirements of the consortium is that we do scorecards and we track the work that they do. It is a lot for the manager to do with that many workers, and so we want to build in the supervisor to be able to provide more training to new workers, be available to answer questions and support workers as they need help throughout the day. So that's that position. The Recovery Services Coordinator position, back to that one, I'm sorry. With that position, we would be looking to not make any additional levy. We would be eliminating one of our workers and adding the supervisor in. And so with the consortium funds and the funds that we would have, we would not need to add any levy for that position. with the recovery services coordinator. One thing we have found, and I've seen since I've been here in Richland County, is that we do have an issue with individuals who have drug and alcohol struggles, and they really have a hard time connecting and finding services. And so what we want this position to do is, if there's somebody that shows up at the hospital that is in need of supports and services, they can go over, connect with them, and help them get connected to services. We would be working with the jail, and if there's somebody in the jail that's in need of supports and services that have AODA issues, we would go meet with them, get them connected to services, provide some transportation if needed, provide hospital peer support. All of this position is grant funded, so we have 3 different grants that we have that we will be using those funds to support the position. We kind of did this backwards. Typically, we would request that the job description be approved first because we were in the middle of the comp and class study. We're doing it backwards because we finally got the approved job description. So we did take it to the committee, requested their permission to proceed. We do have these in the budget and are prepared to fill the positions upon your guys' approval of the job descriptions. Any questions?
We have questions. If there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Resolution's adopted. Item 21, a resolution recognizing the retirement of an employee of the Health and Human Services Department.
This will be resolution number 25-10. Now therefore it be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the county board hereby expresses its sincere appreciation of Ms. Kathy Dobbs for 37 years of dedicated service to Richland County. Be it further resolved that the county board wishes Ms. Kathy Dobbs a long and happy retirement. And be it further resolved that the county clerk shall send a copy of this resolution to Ms. Kathy Dobbs at her residence. This resolution was offered by the county board members of the Community and Health Services Standing Committee on 9 January of 2025.
Okay, approve the resolution. Motion by Manning, second by Harwick. And discussion.
I just wanted to say a quick word for Kathy Dobbs. I was her supervisor. Stephanie Rumpfeld was the manager of Health and Human Services. I just want to let you know I did try to get her to come here tonight, but she's, I don't know if anybody knows her, has ever worked with her. She's a very humble person. So she's like, no, that's okay. She's just, but she did want me to let you know she's very appreciative of this honor and this resolution. Like it says, 37 years with the county. She worked in extension. She was in the county clerk's office for years, veterans office, and then I've been with Health and Human Services 13 years and worked with her for those 13 years. So truly the institutional knowledge that she took with her will be missed, but very excited for her. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. And item 22, a resolution approving the contract for a water reservoir study with Delta 3 for Pine Valley Community Village.
This would be resolution number 25-11. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for Pine Valley Community Village to enter a contract with Delta 3 for $15,500 for the water reservoir study. Be it further resolved that this resolution should be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 14 January 2024.
A resolution, do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Gill, second by Supervisor Fleming. And discussion on this.
All right, so this is our water reservoir. We had our DNR out and did a dive. We have some issues with it. Chad has reached out to Delta 3. They have agreed if we can get this pass come out and he will handle it. It is in your packet. All of the phases that he will go through. So we just needed to, it will come out of our CIP fund. We were projected for this. This is just the first 2 phases. This does not include any construction or whatever that we would have to do. He will give us 3 different options that we can do. And we just pick out the best, whatever one we feel fit is what. So the 15.5 is just for these 2 phases that he is gonna do. Will help us write grants he said there's plenty of grants and everything out there that we could possibly get as well.
So for those who aren't familiar, there is a reservoir on top of the hillside there behind Pine Valley that
Yeah, that would be pretend.
water's pumped into and it comes down to the building, correct?
2,500 feet away, yes.
And apparently, some time ago, some deficiencies were identified and we never followed up, right?
Yep. Back in 2019, the divers were in there and they found a lot of spalding concrete, rebar showing, and that's the drinking water for Pine Valley. They recommend fixing it or replacing. I mean, we can fix it, but we also have 2,500 feet of old pipe that is running up to that. Bart, I've talked to Bart many times. He's going to give us our best option, whether it be hook up to the city of Richland Center, or whether it is build a little mini water tower right on the facility itself. So there's a couple different options, and we're gonna have to do something.
The water's currently testing safely, correct?
Oh, yeah, everything is, yep, we test twice a month. State lab of hygiene in Madison does everything, so, and we have, that's per DNR rules, so, yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Well, it was mentioned in the executive finance meeting that the initial inspection report we can't find.
Correct. The only one we have is, yeah, we don't know where it went. We've looked all over and everything. The last one that we could find was, I don't know how to read those things.
2018, inspection date of 9/14/2018. There was some sand, and I can pass this around too if you'd like. The surface is clean, water quality is very good. There's a little bit of sediment of sand and iron flocking, sediment depth of 1 inch of sand and 2 inch of iron. Ceiling and sidewalls very spalling, some cracks in rebar, and it says 3 report. And I've reached out to him, and he's trying to find the most recent, but this is so far, this is what the DNR says is the most recent. So says minor cracks, exposed rebar, noted in the report. So I mean,
I guess my point is, something is driving us to do repairs, and we don't seem to have the active document that's telling us about this problem. So I would hope we continue to look for that report.
We will.
Yeah.
And then the next follow on that is, as part of your services now, are you guys gonna go in and confirm and inspect inside, or drain it and look at it, or?
yes, that's in 26, I believe, is when we are due for our next one, and the divers will come. Well, if we can dive it, DNR hasn't decided if we can dive it or if we have to drain it down, do a total inspection, and then at that point, we're gonna be wasting a lot of water for them days, because we have to run the pump, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I mean, that's what we have to do, so.
Other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. McKee.
will this money come out of the Pine Valley Capital Improvement Fund?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay.
I have a question also.
Yes, go ahead, Supervisor Miller.
Do you have any idea how much it would cost to get on the Richland Center water system?
That's what we're
That's
trying
part
to
of
figure
what
out.
Bart will do. That will be one of his bids that he will do for us.
So you don't know, you have no idea?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Gill?
Is there any lead pipes or laterals or anything like that?
No, lead, no, nothing like that.
That's good.
Anybody else have a question? Mr. Manning?
Would it make sense now that we're doing the highway, and I know this never happened fast enough,
I know.
it seemed like if we're doing the highway and the shoulders there, it sure would be time to run the pipes for it also.
That's, yeah.
It's never gonna happen.
It wouldn't happen in time. that was my thinking too. I mean, when I talked to City of Richland Center, they had it in the works about the time that the building got renovated. And they actually wanted to put a water tower on the facility. I don't know what all happened, none of my business anymore, but they had plans drawn up to shoot underneath the pine, and it actually wasn't gonna be in the road, it's gonna be in the right of way. So I mean, yes and no, but yes, you're right, it would be the time to do it.
All right, anything else? No further questions. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify.
I'm just thinking, I mean, would it make the most sense to find out with the city before we spend 15 grand on it? I mean, it's just $15,000 more dollars that could go towards hooking the city. Me personally, that makes the most sense. I mean, but it's just a question. You're right. I mean, I don't want to hold up progress, but it's 15, you know, to me, the most sense makes to, instead of having a standalone where we got to worry about a well, we got to worry about a tower, we got to worry about this. We just spend whatever it costs to hook on the city. The city's at 14 anyway. You know, we're a mile away, whatever it is. I don't want to stop the progress at all. That's not the purpose of this, but it's another $15,000 that could go towards that instead of looking at it and saying, hey, this is bad.
I think it needs to be considered what those costs would be monthly going on with the city too. I mean,
Well,
that'd be the picture.
The other aspect that this person's gonna do is look at available grant funding. Maybe there is grant funding
That's
out
the
there.
part that you don't want to lose, right? But
I
cost
have
of water is extremely cheap. Sewer is expensive, but water is extremely cheap. So that's kind of where I would be.
I have reached out to Richland Center, and they are working on getting us a pretty firm price on like what it would be our monthly expenditures for what we pump a day, you know, stuff like that. And it's 4,900 feet to where they are to where we are.
It's almost twice as much as what you run down from the reservoir.
Yeah, but that pipe might not necessarily be ours.
That's a very good point.
Anyway.
Good question.
Money may be well spent because of the grant writing.
He is probably the best grant writer in the state of
You
Wisconsin.
know what I mean? So it was just a good call. Try to save as much as we can. I get it on the other side too. Don't want to stop the progress.
All right, any other questions? All right, now we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we will move forward with that. Thank you. Item 23, a resolution approving fund transfers for the Simons Recreation Complex in the 2024 county budget.
This would be resolution number 25-12. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the following fund transfers from the Simons project funds, donation fund 37 in the Simons operating budget, fund 36 hereby approved. Do you wish me to read the list, Mr. Chair?
I don't think you need to.
And be it further resolved that this resolution should be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution is offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 14th January 2025.
Further resolution, do we have a motion? Motion by Cooey, second by Caro. And this is something we do every year for Simons. They collect donations that go into one fund, and you can see the listing of the different things that those donations are being used for, so we have to transfer it out of the donation fund into Simon's operating fund to cover the cost. Is Mike Hardy online with us? I don't know if he was able to join tonight.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Very well. I gave the thumbnail sketch, Mike. Any additional detail you want to give?
You did very well, Dave. So if anyone has any questions, I can answer, but otherwise I think you covered it.
Okay. Anybody have questions? If there are no questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, very good. Then we will move to item 24, a resolution approving donations to the Simons Recreation Complex.
This would be resolution number 25-13. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the following donations from the Simon Recreational Complex Foundation to the Simon Recreation Complex are hereby accepted. Do you wish me to read the list, sir? Be it further resolved that this resolution should be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution is offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 14 January 2025.
We have a motion on this. Motion by Mr. Gill to accept, second by Ms. Glassbrunner. And Mike, we got a list of stuff the foundation's given us, right?
Yeah, correct. It's all there, and again, this is part of a total of a little over $50,000 that the foundation did give Simons just in 2024. They have committed another at least $50,000 in 2025 that they intend on donating to Simons for continued improvements and upgrades there. So very appreciative of the work that the foundation has done, and this allows us to again upgrade some of the equipment in the facility at Simons to make it a more pleasurable experience for our members.
Anybody have questions on this one? Yes, Ms. Fleming, go ahead.
At the bottom of the resolution, it doesn't state how people voted.
I think it was unanimous.
All in favor?
Yeah, we may not have had the commission to that. We'll fill it in.
It was unanimous for it, to the best of my recollection.
Just wanted to make sure that it was indicated on there.
Other questions?
I just want to add something.
Go ahead.
We have a very beautiful complex out there compared to a lot of places. And little Benson, Arizona is as big as Richland Center, and they have nothing compared. They have a lot of stuff sitting all over, but nothing compared to what the campus has, or the Simons has.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? All those in favor of accepting the donations, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It's adopted, thank you. Item 25, resolution approving the 2025 educator contract and MOU between Richland County and UW-Madison Division of Extension.
This would be resolution number 25-14. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the 2025 educator contract and MOU between Richland County and UW-Madison Division of Extension be approved. Be it further resolved that the resolution shall be effective retroactively to January 1st, 2025 upon passage. This resolution was offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 14 January 2025.
That's our resolution. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Cosgrove, second by Supervisor Fleming. Any discussion? Mr. Beatty is here.
Yeah, so the two different documents here, the first one is our educator contract. This is basically the same contract that Extension's been using for many, many years. What's a little new this year is there's a memorandum of understanding that was drafted in conjunction with the Wisconsin Counties Association. This is a separate document, just really more clearly defining the roles between Extension and the counties as far as how we operate with educators, support staff, with county space and that type of thing. So it's been approved through our standing committee and executive committee. So if anybody has any questions, I'm free to answer.
Chairman, Mr. Kawish.
Yeah, no questions, but just to let everyone know too, Adam and I briefly discussed this, and we'll be meeting to talk about more of the involvement components of some of the activities outlined here in the MOU and in the agreement. So there's nothing's missing, but there's just things that we could probably improve on and be better at, committing to and executing all the terms of the contract. So Adam and I will be working on those as we go forward. But as been stated, it's the standard contract that we'll review just a little more to make sure we're doing everything to the best of our ability.
Questions on either the contract or the MOU? There are no questions. All in favor of a document, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good, thank you. Item 26, a resolution of formal endorsement to Laval Telephone Cooperative, Inc., to assist in obtaining the Wisconsin Public Service Commission's Broadband Equity Access and Development, or BEAD, program grant.
This would be resolution number 25-15. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors does, by the passage of this resolution, endorse Laval Telephone Cooperative, Inc. as a BEAD program applicant and Richland County broadband provider, and supports the construction of unserved and underserved communities in Richland County highlighted within the Wisconsin Public Services Commission broadband map as part of the BEAD program, and as administered by the Wisconsin Public Services Commission. Be it further resolved that the publication of this resolution may occur through posting in accordance with section 985.02 of Wisconsin statutes. This resolution was offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 14 January 2025.
All right, you've heard that resolution. Do I have a motion, please? Motion by Kramer, second by Williamson. Did we have somebody here tonight, too?
I don't believe Josh was present, but the background that we have is that the federal government has released around $42 billion to be used nationwide to deploy broadband services. They're calling this a BEAD program, so that's Broadband Equity and Access and Deployment Program. So out of that $42 billion, Wisconsin received about $1 billion, right? The federal government identified areas where broadband is now available and is releasing funding for these areas. So Laval and Richland Telephone Grant Co-op, that's why you see two resolutions, by the way. They're very similar, they're just the different telephone companies there. They will be pursuing some of those, of the remaining 463 circle structures within Richland County. So there is, at Executive and Finance, there was a nice map that outlined those areas in which they're expanding coverage into the county, and as a part of those funding mechanisms are just seeking support to use in their grant application to make their case that they're worthy of the grant funds. Supervisor Williamson, is there anything else to add to that?
No.
It's basically a letter of support saying that we are supporting their mission to expand broadband.
We're not committing any county funding or any resources. We're just saying, yes, please do this. We appreciate it. Questions? Notice a very similar resolution coming up next. So, and it's two separate telephone co-ops, two separate areas they're looking at. So,
Did you mention, Derek, 463
Yes, the total amount, right?
structures within the county?
Yeah, 463 structures, correct. Yes.
that's between the two, correct?
Correct, yep, within the county, yeah.
All in favor of this resolution, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, and then item 27 is a resolution of formal endorsement to Richland Grant Telephone Cooperative, Inc. to assist in obtaining the Wisconsin Public Service Commission's Broadband Equity Access and Development, or BEAD, program.
This would be resolution number 25-16. Do you wish me to read it?
No, it's pretty much similar to last one, yeah.
This resolution is being offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 14 January 2025.
Okay, so similar resolution, different co-op, motion by Kramer, second by Manning. Any questions, discussion on this one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Very good. Wrap that up. We're down to item 28, which is correspondence. Future agenda items, item number 29.
Discretionary project funding for administrators.
Okay, we'll get that recorded. Any other future agenda items you'd like to see considered? If not, Mr. Manning makes a motion to adjourn, second by Supervisor Fleming. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.